What's happening, guys? Ronin man. You can see the surf coming in there. It's perfectly glassy. Absolutely beautiful California day. Holy moly, the weather is freaking perfect and surf is starting to fucking fire. You can't really see it perfectly from here, but I'm gonna be down there out in the water here soon. It's about 7 in the morning and I want to make a video about maybe my most unique trait or skill, and I want to try to pass this on to anybody who is essentially brave enough intellectually to take it. Okay, with that as an introduction, let's go into it. So the concept is how to be a unique thinker, and I'm going to warn you about the dangers of taking this road, because there are also, whenever you do something, there are also negatives and positives with any choice that you make, and especially when you make a radical choice. There are compromises. There are things that you're going to give up. There is pain involved, right? But there is also exhilaration and absolute freedom, intellectual freedom in this concept. So first, I want to start to say that I think that, and I really see this when I come into the West, when I come into, like when I was in Melbourne, and now that I'm in California, I can really see this in the people, is most people do not think. Okay, so in the sense that they basically, okay, I was just talking to somebody this morning, and in their mind, there's two political parties. Right? In the US, there's Democrats, Republicans. Obviously, there's other parties, but these are the main ones. And there's kind of set belief systems for these two parties. And whenever you have an argument or discussion with anybody here, usually they are just repeating one of the kind of, in Japan, they have like, for lunch, they have like A setto, B setto, C setto, right? Different, you might get a hamburger, you might get a fish, and you might get a pork steak, and it comes with the same thing: rice, miso soup, and some kind of shiso or something. It's kind of a set meal. And I think this is actually the Japanese set meal thing. Is kind of, there's a lot. It's a great metaphor for life, because that's how a lot of stuff is in life. Is that there's certain set belief systems. Do you want A setto? Do you want a B setto? Or C setto, And there's no changing these sets in Japan. You can't say, I want, once I ordered a chocolate sundae, but when I looked at the picture on the menu, it had a scoop of chocolate and a scoop of vanilla. So I asked the waitress, I said, hey, can you put two chocolate scoops? So she looked she frowned, and she did the kind of, which means kind of bad in Japan, like, I don't think so. So she goes, I'll talk to the manager. So she goes out there and she says, no. So it's a chocolate sundae, one chocolate, one vanilla. You can't put two chocolate. Okay, so this is typical in Japan. And they have something they're giving you, and there is no flexibility at all. Zero. And I love Japan. You guys know it's probably my favorite. In fact, Tokyo is my favorite city. Okay, so I'm not bagging on Japan, but anybody who lives there, the place ain't perfect. And this is something that drives you insane if you're there for a long time, because it's like, why not? Why can't you put two chocolates in the chocolate fucking sundae? You got chocolate. Just put two in there. It's like, no, you cannot. Okay, so when you talk about people's belief systems, most people, I know this is going to sound proud, but I'm totally serious. Most people do not think in this world. Like, seriously, including you. A lot of people are going to be listening to this, and you're going to be like, holy shit, he's talking about me. Because this is not an attack. My videos are not an attack. They are not a put down either. They're not there's no hidden message. My message is exactly what I'm saying, okay? And a lot of us, we come to realizations over time. We learn and grow, okay? We start from somewhere, and we add new parts to it. We add new we add new things to it. We reevaluate. And this is one of the beautiful things in life, is that you can change. You don't have to be the same every day. And a lot of guys come to the channel with one kind of like way of thinking, and then over time they will change, and then you'll see it, especially at the summits. You'll see guys saying like, damn, I used to think this, and everybody will just start laughing because nobody's looking down on him, because what he's doing is he is changing in front of our very eyes. And that's really what it's about, because it's not like you're changing into something. No, you're not changing into something. You're not listening to Ronin. You are not becoming something, okay, other than a better thinker. This is my ultimate goal, is not to, okay, so let me give you an example. Okay, so for example, I could easily be, at some point, people could decide Ronin is not MGTOW enough, and over time, ideas, concepts get more solidified. They get more rigid over time. Usually, sometimes they go the other way. So like a violent cult will become a peaceful religion over time, as it gets bigger and grows. So sometimes these ideas are the opposite, but a lot of times they become more and more rigid, more and more like a religion. So it starts out as just an idea, a kind of a small group of guys get together and do something, and then over time the concept gets taken over. So it starts by unique thinkers. Unique thinkers, the reason why I think you want to be a unique thinker is because, I mean, to me, this is fucking where it's at, okay? Being a unique thinker is like where everything comes from. Every single good idea was from a unique thinker. Plato, Socrates, every scientific achievement, they came from unique thinking, because it took unique thinking to come up with a unique experiment, just a little different than before, adding another variable. Like it's like right now with battery technology, the big breakthroughs are not coming until now, like not recently, have been like tweaks in chemistry, like a little bit more of this, 11% of this, and a little bit, less cobalt and less this, and then a little bit more of that. And it's just these little tweaks. So sometimes a unique thought is not necessarily a revolution. So a unique thought can also be in the subtleties. Okay, so sometimes my favorite unique thoughts are like absolute fucking revolutions. I love revolution, like Mao Zedong, he loved revolution. That's one thing I have in common with Mao Zedong, is he loved revolution, because it's just like this upheaval of the old, and I personally always have a kind of a I enjoy when old boring ideas just get turned over, and people that are rigid and controlling get kicked out and new ideas come in. To me, that's just absolutely, I love it. Even with all the chaos and economic loss that happens, change, I think for myself, I hate when things get rigid and people start to get a fiefdom. They start to take control. They start to control others. This drives me insane. I have no desire to be controlled, okay? And I also have no desire to control you. My goal here is to express my deepest ideas and to find souls that have similar type of, they somehow can see in a similar way, so that we can together go deeper. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like together, like travelers, it's like two explorers finding each other, and just no one needs to even talk. You just kind of look out to the wilderness or look out to the ocean and then go that way. It's like, that's where we're going, or we're going to space, right? Or we're going we're going down into the small, into the molecules, into the electrons, below that to the quarks. It's like, that is my goal, intellectually, physically, in every way, in relationships too, is to go to explore, right, and to find truth. and find more. And I don't think this is such a big deal to me. I mean, I don't think this is like, oh my gosh, we are explorers. It's so amazing. No, because here's the option. What is the other option? The other option sucks total ass. Because the other option, here's the ugly part. The other option is to basically, okay, and this goes back to the conversation I had earlier with somebody. I suddenly realized, I was talking to somebody that I've known for a long time. I suddenly realized that their whole life is based on secondhand information. So whenever we have a discussion, it's impossible for him to go deeper into the concept. Why? Because the knowledge is not there. Because every idea that he has is based on somebody else's presentation. So for example, and this is why it's so hard to copy Ronin Man. I've had guys try to copy Ronin Man, but they quickly find out it's impossible to copy this channel because each episode is based on unique thinking. So the only way you could copy Ronin Man was by copying each episode after it came out. you know what I'm saying? Like each time, okay, we're gonna have unique thinking. Let's see here. Okay, so most people, and I ask you honestly, is this you? There is no shame here. Are you a person who until now has basically spent his life choosing between ideas that have been presented to you in books, movies, media, modern society, popular culture, that you have basically said, okay, which one am I going to choose? You basically have, like, let's just use U.S. politics. So you have Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, right? Then you have radical, fringe, supposedly radical, like Communist Party. You have these different things, right? And they are branded radical, so it's very easy to know what you should be. So you see a lot of kids getting a communist t-shirt or something because they want to be quote unquote radical, right? They want an anarchy t-shirt with an A, and then they are suddenly putting themselves, it's so fake, into this radical category, right? Essentially what they're doing is trying to get attention, right? They're trying to, and so this is not what I'm talking about at all. Choosing between fake, decided upon, society approved, ordained ideas, choosing between those is not what I'm talking about. That is not unique thinking. Another thing that's not unique thinking is, okay, so let's say you watch a video, read a book, and then you say to yourself, well, I like the book, but I disagree with this one part, Or you say, let's say the book is a unique book, like a truly unique work of art. Okay, like Catcher in the Rye, one of my favorite books. Catcher in the Rye. I've loved that book ever since I was a kid. I still feel like I'm that kid, I could so relate to that kid. It's supposed to be about adolescent angst, but it's not. It's kind of about how full of shit society is. And I love it. And I never grew past that. Probably some people would say that. It's because I always see through society, like that boy does. It's like so fake. He has this teacher who pretends like he likes him, actually wants to molest him, right? Gives him a place to stay when he runs away from home. And then he tries to take his pants off or something, right? I've had a million dudes try to do stuff like this. I have lived his life, right? Where I'm out there like not trusting society, running away, and then people say, and then you realize that even people that are supporting you, they basically want to fuck you, basically, and so the hypocrisy, it runs so deep in society. It's so fucking deep, and you can become very doubtful of things the more you know, right? You become doubtful, and this is the danger. A lot of people think that you would become cynical or depressed or negative. But no, not at all. As you become more knowledgeable, it's ridiculous to get cynical. I think the people that become cynical are essentially lazy, because what they're cynical about is they're saying, I can't trust anybody, okay, and I can't trust any institution, and they give up. Okay, that's it. Now, for myself, I would say, oh my gosh, people are totally lying. They're totally full of shit. I can't trust the church. I can't trust society. I can't trust the government. I can't trust any group or thing completely. Like, oh my God, I would say no. What is the lesson there? There's a lesson. Okay? And there's a lot of lessons. I don't want to go too much into lessons, but there could be lessons that life is complicated. That you can trust them to a certain level, right? With certain things you can trust people. It's not like you can't trust anybody on anything, right? You can obviously trust some people for some things, that girl there is walking a dog, right? You can trust that. That is the sun, this is a fence, people, there are things, if you ask people questions, you don't have to, when you buy toothpaste at Walmart, you don't have to wear a hazmat suit to buy that, because you don't have to think this could be radioactive waste from, let's say, Russia trying to, assassinate me. You don't have to think that. You don't have to take that in a radioactive suit or hazmat suit to a nuclear facility to be tested and chemically, you know what I'm saying? You can trust a lot of things in life, but you can't trust completely. Okay. So should you be totally cynical? No. It's that you just basically find that there are levels of trust, essentially, that you can have. I have different levels of trust with people. See, instead of being cynical about people, because I've been ripped off many times. I had a very, very valuable business stolen from me in China that would make me wealthy. I would be absolutely cruising around in a fucking very nice car with very nice houses right now if this wouldn't have happened. But instead, I lost it all. So, do I not trust people anymore? No. Here's what I learned from that. I learned that there are different levels of trust with money. So what I thought is that there was people that you could trust with money and people that you couldn't trust with money. Okay. So I would, I would basically try to categorize people. So I kind of would watch, and I think this is what most people do. They watch people, does the guy steal the $10 on the table? Does the guy pay for his bill? Does the guy do this? Does the guy do that? And you listen to his stories about his life. Is he trustworthy with other people? What is his credit rating? There's different things you're going to look at to know if you could trust him with money. And then what I did was I said, okay, this woman that I had a business with was very trustworthy with a lot of money. I mean, she used to run around, literally, she often had over $10,000, between $10,000 and $13,000 in her purse. Because she was always collecting rent for me. She was always paying bills. And I remember one time, I didn't realize she carried that much cash until one day she said, oh my gosh, I forgot my purse. And I'm like, okay, well, where is it? And she said, it's at the noodle shop, like the super cheap noodle shop, right? And I was like, oh, okay, let's go get it. And she's like, no, you don't understand. There's like $13,000 in there. I'm like, what? I knew she was getting things done. She was very reliable, but I had no idea that she carried that much cash in China. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, what happened today? And she's like, basically told me, she's like, this is just a normal day. Like, her purse was laying all over the house and in the office, and she would put it on the table and go to the bathroom at the restaurant. She had that kind of money in her purse every day. And I just didn't know, And so we went down to the noodle shop, and they had taken her purse and they had put it aside. She forgot it on the table, and they gave it back to her. Nobody had obviously opened it up, and we got it back. But I learned, so these kind of experiences made me think that I can trust her with money. And here's the thing. I could trust her with money, with a lot of money. I trusted her with 100,000, 100,000. It was easy, no problem. She was totally trustworthy. The problem was when the money got bigger. And when the money, and it was also a combination of money and power and connections And this type of kind of vortex of things that humans like, when they all came together, that's when she fucked me. So it wasn't the small money, like $100,000. No, it was when the big money and the big names, and I can't give the examples, but because I don't want to give away this company, and also it's not that important what she did at this point. I've already overcome it, but it was when the big names came in, and she was dealing with like famous people, and she was a power. She was in power now. She was a bigwig. She had gone from a very poor girl to a, somebody who's really a sociolite. What's that called? Sociolite? Something where they're living with like the, like the most richest people, and like, staying in the most expensive hotels. And it's not just money that was her, I guess, her kryptonite. It was a combination of high society, money, government connections, power, I don't know, maybe anonymity, maybe autonomy, where she saw that she could steal from me and then be free from me, essentially, so that she didn't have to listen to anything anymore. She could just like take my stuff, and then she could do whatever she wanted with it. It was probably a combination of these things. Anyway, at some level, she became untrustworthy, and she ripped me off. And I was in a position where there wasn't many options. I had to trust her, essentially, in China. So it's no sense of saying, oh, you shouldn't have done that, and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it's done. It's past. But what I learned from that was, well, I learned a lot, actually. I learned a fuck ton from that. Very valuable lessons. And the whole thing was valuable, actually. Even building the business was valuable. Losing the business, what I learned about people, what I learned about myself. Incredible. And also the changes I made in my life afterwards, that at this point I wouldn't trade it for the world. Like, I'm grateful for the whole thing now, because I really grew from that. I'm serious. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and I am that type of person, and I came out of that thing a lot stronger. Okay, so unique thinking, unique fucking thinking. See, most people will say a typical thing. Oh, you shouldn't start a business like that. Oh, you can't trust people in China. Oh, obviously she would have done that. Oh. All of these kind of belief systems, okay? Now, the reality is that there are a lot of people who did exactly what I did. Similar businesses, and they came out fine. So the black and white thinking of most people is not true. There are people doing things right now that you would say are impossible, right in front of your eyes. But most people have no desire to see that, because they would rather believe whatever it is that they have. Their A setto, B setto, C setto is their go-to. They don't want to think about your problems. They don't want to think about anything, really. When you come to them with something, they're going to come out with an A setto, B setto kind of idea, and that's it. They're done with that, and that's what they do for themselves too. Okay, so if you become, here's one of the problems of being a unique thinker. One of the most difficult things is that a lot of people, and this is something I've realized over years, is when you are a unique thinker, some people will not like to talk to you. And the reason is because it requires a lot of energy to think, okay? It requires a lack of ego and a strength. You can't just be a unique thinker and be fooling yourself or kidding yourself or living a lie. Why not? Because a unique thinker, like for myself, I can be talking about an idea for 20 minutes and suddenly realize it's not true. It's completely not true. And that it's totally a different way. See? And this is partly why my videos go the way they go. Because as I'm going, if I see a new truth, I'm going to completely change the topic. Why? Because all of a sudden I can see. And when you listen to the process I went through to get to the final idea, This is what will give you a true deep understanding of the idea itself too. That's the reason why when you write a research paper, the teacher wants to see the notes, because the teacher wants to see the scribbling, wants to see how you came to the idea. How did you discover? Now they're doing it just to see if it's unique work, right? But I say to you that in order to be a unique thinker, you need to deal with other unique thinkers. And unique thinkers, they will act like I'm talking about. They will basically start with an idea, they will go with it. Their ego is not tied to the idea. And they're willing to say, oh my gosh, I've been wrong my whole life. What an idiot. Holy moly, I thought this my whole life. And now I realize it was completely stupid. And it was based on my pride around this one topic, right? You know, I was so proud of myself on this, and then, you know, it's like that is a unique thinker. See, now a lot of people don't like to listen to that. Why? Because it's like a fucking guillotine to them, okay? Because they know that they are basically full of shit. They don't have any unique ideas. They are repeating somebody else's well thought out unique ideas. And here's one way you can pretend like you're a unique thinker. You can be in opposition. Okay, opposition. This is a good one. A lot of people will read a unique paper or see a unique, let's say, law. There'll be a unique solution to something, and they will say, so let's say there's person A, okay? There's the Einstein that came up with the idea, and there's person B who basically tries to put himself up with Einstein because he says, well, Einstein was right, but he was wrong about this one thing. So it's essentially saying, like, it's a very lazy man's way to essentially kind of say that he's at Einstein's level. You just have to accept that, but actually a little bit better. Because he's actually perfecting Einstein's idea for you, you know, which is a beautiful thing. You know, what is better than Einstein? You know, that's pretty good. You know, that is what an oppositional thinker will. It's an oppositional thinker is a fake unique thinker. It is a fake unique thinker. Now, here is the complication. Okay, so for example, we were at the summit in Melbourne. And if you listen to the episodes, I often disagreed. People would share. Here they flew around the world, paid money to come to the summit, and they're sharing as honest as they fucking can, right? Everybody was being super honest. And they expected, I'm telling you right now, they expected me to agree with them. It's the least we can do, right? We're a bunch of guys. We're all in the boat together. They flew all the way over here. They're obviously huge fans, right? They're fans of the channel. They're fans of MGTOW. They're fans of, you know, like basically they've been through a lot of pain. A lot of honesty has come before they even arrived at this area. Took off the time off work. They were like decisive, you know, and they actually came. And the instinct for me was to kind of ignore anything that I didn't agree with, you know, kind of just like, okay, let's go, you know, kind of like, but the thing is, here's the thing, is I disagreed with some ideas. Now, a lazy person, let me go into this first. When somebody disagrees with you, let's say you are a unique, non-unique thinker, okay? So somebody disagrees with you. What you're going to feel, what they are going to feel is they feel that you are a threat to them. You are in opposition to them. So they're going to want to dismiss you quickly, like destroy you, because they are happily sharing their ideas, okay? And I'm not talking about the summit now. I'm talking about when you become a unique thinker and somebody says something and you will helpfully come up with a new idea or a new twist or a new direction or a deeper tunnel, you know, that they hadn't thought of. But a non-unique thinker will immediately see it as a huge threat. And I'm telling you right now that most of humanity, almost all of humanity, is non-unique thinkers, men and women both. And they will take you as a threat. So being a unique thinker is not a great way to make friends in the sense of a lot of fake friends, which is the way most people are happy to live. So if you want a lot of fake friends, you're probably best not to be a unique thinker. Obviously, you can see what I think about that. Okay, so where do you want to go with this? Where was I? What was I? Was I oppositional to them? No. What was I actually doing? I wanted to set the tone right from the beginning. That and all the way to the end too, is that this is not about a bunch of guys agreeing with each other. Although the aspect of camaraderie is very important. It's incredibly deep and important. And if you have ever been to a summit, or if you see the way it kind of rolls out, you will see the unique culture that is actually arising out of this. Because it's a group of men who already are pretty darn unique thinkers and pretty decisive, but want more. So it's not like, oh, I have the idea now and it's done. It's baked in the oven. Take it out, serve it to everybody. No. It's never ending. And so it's like looking for these other never ending searchers for truth and travelers who are constantly challenging themselves and challenging their ideas and comfortable. Because see, the thing is, the reason why like I said, the first impression, I think that people were kind of astounded, like, oh my gosh. And I know for sure Sidney MGTOW was like this in the beginning. He was like, whoa, wait. You know, I could see his face. He was like, it was like, he wasn't expecting this. But then suddenly I saw everybody's face relax over time as things went on in that first meeting. Because they kind of started to realize what was going on here. The camaraderie is even more meaningful and deeper than people ever imagined. Is that we are not a group of people who will just support each other and just agree. Because we're on this search. We're on this search. We want to come out of the thing with better ideas, with more ideas, with deeper ideas, with better understandings than we had before we started. So that essentially you come back home and you say, you can start to implement these ideas, and these deep ideas, these deeper truths, these closer to your real self ideas, and these shedding of old ideas, and this restructuring of the brain, cleaning out the closets of your mind, has long-term benefits that start to show themselves afterwards, right? And that is the thing, see, is because it's not about the moment. And then through that shared journey comes a sense of camaraderie that's much deeper. And it's, I know that the sense of camaraderie, I know for sure, with soldiers who've been actually on the front lines is incredibly deep. And it doesn't even matter which side of the army it was on. It could be like, I've seen a lot of videos of the Vietnamese soldiers, the Viet Cong that survived, a meeting with the American, like the best of the American forces and the Australian forces and the Korean forces, and sitting down together and just like whooping it up and laughing, because there is a shared, they both know something that everybody else does not know. They have a shared experience that is so deep that it ain't about, you see, it ain't about the flags anymore. It ain't about countries. It ain't about lines on the globe, right? There is something deep that these men know about loss, about choices, about bravery, about sacrifice, about decisions, about instinct, about fear, about terror, about death, and about life that these men share that other men don't share. So that's why they would come together. Because people will say, oh, they're so forgiving. No, that ain't forgiving. No, it ain't easy. It ain't fucking easy, my friend, to find somebody who knows the deep truths. It ain't easy, man. It ain't just laying out there like you go to Starbucks, there's a fucking brownie there. You don't just pick it up at Starbucks. It is fucking hard, man. But the journey is totally fucking worth it. I don't see what else for myself. I don't see any other journey, right? So a unique thinker will be hated by most people because you are troublesome to talk to, man. It is tiresome to talk to you. I spend my life with an A said, B said mindset, and you come along and tear it apart, and they will see you as an oppositional. They will see you as, I forgot there's a word in psychology for somebody who always disagrees with people. Okay, they're going to see you as that. And you might even be called that. And they will feel you as that. But I want to say that if you are that, if you are the person who just watches the Ronin video and just, I disagree. Einstein, I disagree. Any unique, even people you don't like, they might have, let's say a politician, like Obama had Obamacare. You might be in full opposition to Obama, right? And his party or whatever. But at the same time, you could be deeply grateful for Obamacare. See, because you've separated ideas. And you might see, I'm not saying this is the truth, but you might see a policy or an idea as being very helpful. And you might say, well, I don't really care where it's from. It's like, whatever. I can take that. See, most people, their ego is so fragile that there's no way they could do this because they can only take the aseto, not the fucking, they can't separate. And when you do that, you will cause them great pain. Great pain. And it causes them to have to, essentially, it's embarrassing. Their whole life is basically like this. So it will cause them to want to fight you and to try to shut you down. So if you find people doing that, and I think you have to look inside yourself too, because if you are an oppositional thinker, okay, somebody who automatically disagrees, somebody who likes to disagree, somebody who, in every group, I taught university, I taught college when I was in my 20s, right? I was about 29 or whatever. I used to teach at a college. And in every class, you're always going to have at least one oppositional thinker. And I tell you what's very interesting about oppositional thinkers, they often sit in the same chair. So whichever classroom you go to, they will sit in the same chair. I found that to be true. I heard it from, actually I got this idea from Richard Bandler from NLP. And what he would do is he would take an oppositional thinker and they would be in some certain chair and he would move them to another part of the classroom. And he found that they got less oppositional once they changed chairs. So if you are an oppositional thinker and it's not easy for you to let this go, try something simple like that. Richard Bandler was a straight up genius. Virginia Satir, Richard Bandler, the guys who started NLP. There was another great thinker. I can't even think of his name right now. I haven't studied NLP for a long time, but there was a lot of great, unique thinking that came out of that. And so I mentioned Virginia Satir's name in particular because a lot of MGTOW guys will never give any credit to any woman, and that's completely bullshit, by the way. That is like absolutely almost heresy to what I'm talking about. To not give somebody credit for a unique idea because of their sex is totally insane. It's opposition. It's really gutting the concept I'm talking about. There are people from every walk of life, and you really need to, it's difficult to find them is what I'm saying. I'm not saying, hey man, we need the fucking United Nations of fucking everything. We need the Benetton ad of geniuses. No, fuck that. I hate that. That is so fake. If all the guys are one race, fine. Who cares? If they're all women or all men, who gives a fuck? But you look for that genius. You look for that unique thinking. And often leads to brilliant ideas and breakthroughs. One of my favorite artists is a woman, Kate Bush. Kate Bush is, to me, she's fucking amazing. She is right up there, man. Kate Bush, her stuff. You can watch the Kate Bush story on on YouTube. Terrible quality video, but it's really worthwhile. That chick, ever since I heard her the first time, I was like, this is a unique thinker here. And I just, her music, and then also when I saw her videos, I was like, wow, like, I was kind of thinking, like, how could she be so popular with such weird music? You know, she had like hits, you know, in the 80s at a time when everything was standardized, everything was electronic beat, you know, Duran Duran. And then you had like Kate Bush screaming into the microphone, you know. But if you listen to her stuff, it's actually not screaming in the microphone at all. It's amazing. She's shocking, you know. And she actually had her first song she wrote. They talk about it in the documentary, which I didn't know about this song actually, but I really thought it was interesting because it was the song "The Man with a Child in His Eyes," and she's talking about her father. And that song is about me. I could really relate to that song. She wrote that song when she was a very young girl. I think she was 14. But it's how a man that she knew, and I believe it was her father, could see the world through the eyes of a child. And when she was a kid, you know, I think she's basically saying that was one of her motivations. Like, it was something she could, you know, it probably inspired her. It gave her respect as a child. You know, instead of saying, oh, children are this, children are that. He saw the world through the eyes of the child in the good way. Obviously, he was still an adult who paid the bills and went to work, and yet he had a child in his eyes. And I don't know if musically that's the greatest song she had, but the words and the concept, really good. You know, she's not fucking around, Kate Bush, I'll tell you that. And anybody who says that women are not artists, you don't have any ideas, basically, I say shame, because that's just not true. And it doesn't help anybody's cause to say stuff that's total bullshit. It just doesn't. It certainly doesn't increase society's desire to listen to you, right? You know. And also, I think just in the sense of uniqueness in art, it makes a guy look like a fool, really. If you can't give credit to the opposition, let's say, for example, in a political situation, if you can't see anything good in other people, if you can't see a thinking that you can relate to, there's something wrong. There's something wrong because there is no A setto, B setto out there that fits you perfectly. You're going to find yourself, you know, when I tell you, when I made my postmodernism video, okay, when I made that video, I think it's a very good video, I think. But I realized in the middle of it that the concepts of postmodernism, when nothing is actually ever completely right, and there's always like personal truths and stuff like that. I kind of realized something in the middle of the video. I realized that, or somewhere in the video, I realized that sex, music, and art, they are more like postmodernism in the sense that something that pleasures you, something that makes you feel good, something that arouses those deeper emotions, is something that is it's something that's not logical, and it's also very unique. And you can see this in obviously what porn that people watch, and different days and different times and different ages. You know, there is no one bra, okay, for example, that's going to make you get wood every single day, right? You're going to need different looks. You're going to need different. You might want one day. You might think that a girl in a very conservative outfit with Korean glasses on, looking like a secretary, looking quite uptight, might be arousing to you one day. Another day, you might want the girl in the no bra, just casually walking on the beach. Another day you might want a sweaty look. You might want this. There's different things that arouse you, and obviously there's no limit to how deep these things go and how many different subtle looks that exist. The human beings can recognize 100,000 emotions in a human face. 100,000. I mean, think about that. Think about the levels of complexity and subtlety that exists when it comes to sexual desire, right? So when it comes to the postmodern concepts, when I first made the video, I was like, no, I totally disagree with this. There is no truth. No, of course there's truth, scientific truth, right? There's things that make there are basic fundamental concepts that are very simple. And once you understand them, you can understand a lot of the world. You can extrapolate from those ideas. If you don't understand the basics of physics, just understanding the basics, right? It's very difficult to understand specifics because those laws don't change. They can be used all the way up, and that is something that I really enjoy. That's something that I think that thinking of understanding the deepest concepts allows you to understand the more frivolous concepts, right? So that, in that sense, I was completely convinced this was the way it was. But as I was talking, I realized, wait a second, that is true. And I still believe that. It wasn't like I was in the video going, oh my gosh, I'm totally wrong, I'm a postmodernist. It wasn't that. It was just I realized, oh, wait a second. When it comes to some things, like I was thinking to myself as the video was going on, I was like, where does this postmodernism concept come from? Like, there is no truth. Everybody's got their own unique truth. And then I thought, oh, wait a second. Because I was using art as an example. I was using paintings. I was talking about paintings in that video. And I was looking at different paintings. And all of a sudden I realized, oh, this is it. The paintings were the perfect thing. Because that's where there is no truth, in a sense. Like, there is no ultimate one painting that is like the best boat painting of all time, There is no better boat painting than this one. And you have to agree about the global warming boat. Whatever the concept is, you cannot disagree. It is the way it is, okay? And any scientific concept can be questioned. And that's the whole point. That's how we get to new levels. And one of the scientific truths they often say is that science proceeds one funeral at a time, because a lot of people cannot let things go. So you have your pet theory, you have your asetto, right? Now maybe you discovered that or came to that conclusion when you were young and very innovative, but then you got scared. See, unique thinking requires courage, because what you're going to want to do as you get older is you will have essentially like the football star in high school. He was a football star. He had all the girls. He wore the jacket. And it is tempting for him to want to talk about that for the rest of his life, to remind you on Facebook about this, to talk about this period, to reach out, to go to the reunions, to relive, to watch movies. It's very tempting. It is very difficult to let go totally and be a nobody again for now. And that's what I did when I left China. I was a nobody. Essentially, I was a wandering vagabond from a wealthy guy with everything on TV. I had a lot of things going for me. Things were very easy. I got a lot of respect. I was traveling the world. I was meeting all kinds of people. I was up here, and I was really enjoying it too. There's nothing wrong with that. I had worked hard. I had built. And then the next thing you know, I'm down. And nobody knows me, respects me. I'm in a new country. Everything I learned, the language was not being used. And I had to grow, to continue growing instead of giving up. I needed to accept that I was nothing again. Just like I was when I was a young man. I remember, going to the mall when I was 13. I remember going to the bank when I was like 18 and just feeling like a nobody, like a nothing. I went to the bank, and then there was like these rich old guys coming in with big cash, money, and nice cars. And, they were like parking in the front of the bank, and the bank teller was treating them like a king. I remember I was going to the bank. It was next to a retirement community. It was very wealthy. All these guys, and I was jealous. Oh yeah, I was like 19, I was jealous. I was so jealous of those old guys. They had so much power, I could tell. They had confidence and money. And I was like totally poor, you know. And I had no girlfriend at the time. I had nothing going on. I had no career yet. You know, I was just barely covering like a $63 check. Sometimes I wasn't covering it. And I felt small. I felt meaningless. So in order to be a unique thinker, you have to accept your meaninglessness and smallness in the world. See, you can't maintain a fake King Midas type of fucking image if you want to keep growing. It ain't gonna happen. You need to accept and understand that in every new challenge comes with it the fact that you won't know anything, and you will start from scratch with every concept, with every idea. And you can see this. You can see this kind of, what do you call it? It's a what is the word? It is a kind of a, okay, the best example I can think of. I knew this guy, his name was Kit. A funny name. His name was Kit. He's an older guy. And he had grown up in San Francisco. And his family had many generations. They were from San Francisco. And Kit, a lot of guys didn't like Kit. He was not a very likable person. Like his personality, it's not very, it was not easy to be friends with Kit. But Kit needed some help with his computer, so I'd often go to his house and help him for free, get his computers going. He had a factory in China. He was making money. He was actually making a lot of money, and because I had to help him with his books and stuff too. But anyway, Kit told me something, because he started to trust me, you know. And he said to me, he says, my family, we pride ourselves on being, I forgot how many generations, but many generations of San Francisco natives. And he said, when I was in San Francisco, I would often talk about this. Like, those are not real San Francisco people. Those are new people. My family was the cross, or whatever, is the donor pass or whatever, And he said, I realize now, he goes, that doesn't mean nothing. He's like, 18 million generations of San Francisco. He's like, it doesn't mean shit. He's like, I'm just going to leave and stay in China. But this was a deep thing for this guy. I mean, for this guy, his whole image and ego was built around being a million generations San Francisco person. And there's not many people like that. California has a lot of new people, so it's easy to kind of be the old crust, right? You see this in London. You see this in all over the world. You'll see people who were staking their reputation. And the reason why this is very important in a unique thinking episode is because this is the type of thing. See, when you give up on unique thinking, you hold on to this type of shit. This is the type of thing that you're like, oh, I'm going to now hold on to some ego concept because I don't have anything else to give. I have used up. I am afraid. I am afraid I will not have anything to give. I am afraid of starting a new career. I am afraid of moving to a place and learning a new language. I am afraid of working in a new career because I know how I am, right? So let's say you were the type of person who would make fun of the new guy. The new guy comes in, he don't know anything. He doesn't know shit, man. He doesn't know anything, This is what happens. See, this is the pride of a fake thinker, right? It's like, he doesn't know how to work at Walmart. He hasn't been here. I've been here for this long, and I remember when we had, packages of cinnamon that were twice as large, whatever it is that he's staking his ego on. See, so to be a unique thinker, to be a person who's constantly growing, you have to be the new guy all the time. Because you always are the new guy, whether you're physically the new guy or you're on a new guy on a topic, because you're talking about something that you don't really know. See, because if you talk about the same idea every day, that by definition is somebody who is not a unique thinker. See, because you're holding on to this one thing. You know, have you ever been to a party? Okay, you go to a party and there'll be somebody there and they will start talking about some topic, and before you know it, you realize that this guy, this is the one topic he knows about. And it could be some conspiracy, it could be something, right? And he will go on and on and on about this one concept. And he knows every detail about it. And what he's doing is he will shame you for not knowing, and everything you say he will have an answer to, right? This is the perfect example of the most extreme type of non-unique, afraid, fearful, fragile, paper-thin human. And they just will bulldoze you. They will bulldoze you on this idea. They will know everything that you bring up, because they've done this before. See, this is what they do. They basically talk about this one topic and they bulldoze you on this topic. Now, if you find yourself doing this type of thing, you gotta laugh at yourself, because it's pathetic. It is pathetic, and we all are pathetic sometimes. You know, we all can be pathetic, and it's just like, man, what was I doing? You know, that is so fucking weak. I mean, it is, God, it's so weak. You know, and you want to rise above this type of stuff and laugh at yourself. And if you find yourself being afraid, because being afraid is a normal feeling. You know, it is very fearful. Let's say you've been a doctor your whole life, and let's say you lost your license, okay? It is very scary to become a salesman. Very scary, because all of a sudden you're judged on what you sell right now, right? You know, what you sell right fucking now. This month, there's a chart on the fucking wall that compares you to somebody else. And all of a sudden, it's not just having a medical degree where you're like at the top of the chart every day, no matter what. Salesman, man, every fucking day. You know, it's a difficult job in that sense. Very difficult. It's very tough on the ego. You know, because it's like, oh man, that guy's kicking my ass. Oh, I gotta fucking, how do I, you know, this month again, you know, it's tough, you know, it's tough. You're constantly being pushed, right? But that is how you become really good at something, right? And I want you to become very good, better than you were when you started listening to this, at being a unique thinker. So don't do it if you want to have a lot of friends around you who just kind of everybody agrees with each other. You know, let's say that you know you meet your friend and he says something and you kind of know it's not true. Like let's say it's been, you know, let's say it's fake news, and you know that Snopes, you know, you look at Snopes and it says that that's not true, that didn't happen, or this is you know, they'll Snopes is a great website because people will send you something and then Snopes it. Snopes, and then you'll find out that actually it's not true, you know, and you'll be like, oh, okay. But it's very easy not to look at that, and it's easy just to forward it and say, oh, you know, I now have some information other people don't have. I'm better than them, you know. That's why people send out links. It's like they are more in the know, they are more knowledgeable, whereas it's much more difficult to take down a link and say, you know what, that is not true, and I'm sorry for posting it. That ain't easy to do on Facebook, but I do it. The reason why I do it is because I do it in my mind every day. So it's not that difficult on Facebook to do. It's because I'm constantly checking. So it's not me, it's not my idea, it's the idea. See, it's not it is the idea, but can I get better? Can I get a better idea? Can I get a more deeper understanding? Can I get a more simple explanation that allows me to understand this concept easier so that I can be more fluid with the idea and like quickly react and quickly understand? You know, it's one thing to kind of like rudimentary be able to ride a bicycle, like you can just ride a bicycle but you're shaky. You know, I see some people like that. They learned when they're older to ride bikes, and there's people that are just absolutely fluid on the bike, where they're just like, they can do wheelies backwards, this and that. It doesn't matter what happens, they just get their balance again, and if they fall, they know how to fall, and then they move on. That's the way you want to be with ideas. When you find a concept that you really get, you want to get it where it's like you're so fluent in the idea that it's just like part of you, and then move on. That's the way I want to. I don't want to just learn a Chinese word. I want to be like that kid who rides the bike like that. You know, with the wheelies and all that. You know, stopping in mud, sliding, you know, flipping over, you know, doing this and that, right? I want to do that. I want the concept to become like that. And then once I've got that, once I've become fluid, or fluent, sorry, I call it fluent. Once I become fluent in the idea, and I've integrated it. You know, one guy said to me when I used to race, street race a lot, motorcycles, right? And he said to me, he's like, man, it's like, a motorcycle's part of your body, you know? And I was like, yeah. That's my goal. My goal is that the motorcycle's part of my body, and then the other thing's part of my body, and the idea is part of my body, and the concept's part of my body, and traveling's part of my body, and being honest is part of my body, and searching deeper is part of my body. And it's like, the reason why is because then I don't have to think about it. See, then it's fluent, it's natural. When you first learn a language, it requires a lot of energy to speak it. Okay? You learn this with languages. So for example, here's how I know when I'm fluent. Here's how I know. So let's say I'm speaking Chinese and I get sick. Okay, so I get the flu or whatever, and I got the cold, I'm laying down, I'm not feeling good. If I switch into English when I'm tired and sick, that means I'm not fluent yet. See, because I'm reverting back to English because it's easier. See, when you know you're fluent, here's when you know you're fluent, is when you find yourself, when you're feeling like total shit. You're like sick, you feel terrible, you're afraid, you haven't slept, and you're still speaking like totally normally in the language without even a big deal. I mean, you're complaining and everything, you know, you're in the same mood you would be in English. That's when you're like, oh my gosh, I've passed the level where I need to put in the extra energy to speak it. I can just speak it. It just comes out like words, you know. And that's when I know I'm fluent in a language. That's one of the secret tests I have for myself. Is, do I see myself? Not can I force myself. Do I find myself? Because I know myself. And as I get better at a language, it starts to get more and more, it creeps into more and more areas of my life. See? So I see it, I watch the creep, you know, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, it's creeped into that area. Like now I'm, you know, absolutely comfortable. And with, like, for example, with Japanese, sometimes I won't even realize I'm speaking Japanese. Like it was just, I won't even know. Like I literally, my brain, and then someone's like, oh, you're speaking Japanese. And I'll be like, oh, you know, I think that is also a level of non-fluency. But that is way down there, way deep, way deep. Because I've noticed I do that less than I used to. I used to find myself speaking Japanese, and then somebody would say, you're speaking Japanese? And I was like, oh, sorry, you know. Because I kind of, at the point I thought that everybody understood what I was saying. Like, I was so used to that person getting me, understanding me, that I didn't even understand how, I didn't even realize I was speaking. And usually it would be something like this. What happened is, obviously it's not going to happen out of nowhere. So just so you guys can get the concept here, I would be, for example, talking to somebody in English, and then there would be like a Japanese TV on or something. And then I would watch the TV, and then my mind would like switch into Japanese, and I would look over at the person and start speaking Japanese. And then it was something that tipped me off and switched my brain over, you know. And then I was like, oh, damn, I'm getting, I would think to myself, like, I'm getting pretty fluent now. If I can just switch over that easy, you know. Now, I still think that's one level below totally fluent, because totally fluent, there's this instinct where you could never even do that anymore. And I think I'm getting to that level now, where I don't even, ever find myself speaking the wrong language. It's like every language just switches just like that. And that is a good feeling. That is a good feeling. Now, I haven't spoken Japanese in a long time, but it's one of these things that it's so deep in my mind that it doesn't really go away. So I love that about it. Chinese, I learned a little bit older, and I have a little bit less fluency with it in my life. And that pisses me off, to be honest. I like that bicycle example. I'm not kidding around with that. Like, I'm very fluent on bicycle, and I want to be fluent with every idea. And the reason why, it's not to be great, okay? It's not to be fucking great. No, why do I want this? Do you guys get an idea of my motivation? The reason why I want it, because then it's easy. See, then I just do it without thinking. It's like you don't even think about it. It's just like something that you do. Like for myself, one thing I cannot stand. I'll tell you one thing I hate, you guys. There is one thing I fucking hate. I really hate it. I hate the idea of hobbies. Because people will say, well, I'm learning French. I'm learning this tea ceremony. I'm learning that. Now, I know what they're really saying. What they're saying is they put like it's like a Hugo Boss shirt or something. They're saying this is their Hugo Boss shirt. Their brand is like, I am learning French, and they're like, oh, she's learning French. You know that's great. She's learning French. That is her hobby. It's like, no, man, you don't learn a language. To me, you either become fucking fluent or you're a fucking idiot. Like, there's no middle ground for my mind. Like, I'm serious. And it's just maybe it's my bias, but I just don't see any point in not getting good at stuff. Just, if you do it, get fucking good at it, and then it'll be part of you. And then you don't have to fucking think about it. Don't have such a fragile ego that you need to tell people you're doing something. This is your brand. You're studying French. You're saving money. No, man. It becomes, you think about it, you get all the concepts, and then you become fluent in it. It's like, okay, I'm going to do this now. I'm going down this direction now. And then it just becomes, you can become fluent. You become very good at it. You understand why you do it. You understand what you're doing. And then it's just one more tool, one more thing that you're completely fluent in, that you're just kind of, this is your part of you now. Just like anything else in your life. It's just like something you just do naturally. And I guess another example would be like, for example, kissing a woman. It should be something that's just totally natural. You like melt like chocolate in milk. You pour milk together with the chick. You're just like not something you do. You look at her and you wait and you're seeing her eyes, and it's just like this natural, two people naturally kind of like moving into this thing together, right? That is what you want. You don't kiss somebody like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna kiss somebody. No, you're looking at her. Two people are kissing, right? You're not kissing her. Of course, there is the complexity of the mating game, and she is doing her coquette thing as a woman, and that is very important. And you are doing your thing as a man. I'm not saying that is not true, because that is very true. I'm not saying that she is necessarily on the outside looking like you were looking. There is a male-female interaction going on. But that being said, that has its own music. That has its own fluency. And you can feel that. You can see that. And it's just like you just kind of go into it. So my concept, and I'm going to end on this. A lot of guys will say, MGTOW means basically no women. And I totally disagree, because this is madness. Because the thing is most guys, they build their life around a woman. Okay, they basically build their whole life around a woman. And then that woman comes, she destroys it, and it all comes crashing down. And so the guy's like, no, fuck this. I'm never going to do this again. I'm gonna hold myself like a You know, I'm gonna fight this urge. I'm gonna do this, and then of course, next thing you know, they do the same thing again. See? Now, if you had a woman, let's just say you had a woman who would come to your house, take her clothes off, not a prostitute, but just a girl who liked you, silently come in, you know, do everything you like, enjoy her time with you, and then leave. Now, would that be bad? Like, would you be against that? No. No. You'd be fine with that. Let's say she was totally happy. Let's say she really enjoyed it. She wanted to just come over and fuck your brains out and then leave. Now, would you consider that to be evil or terrible or like a nightmare? You know, or you'd be, you know, kind of compromising or something. No. You'd be like, okay, fine. That'd be fine. But the thing is, the reason why guys don't want to have anything to do with women is because they think that's impossible. See, so they have limited ideas about life and women. So they cannot see any other way than the way they have always been with women. So that's why they don't want a woman. It's not they don't want a woman, it's that they don't want what they had before. Because that didn't work. They got screwed over. And I'm not saying you don't ever get screwed over by women. It does happen. But most of what guys are avoiding is not actually women. They're avoiding their own rigid ways of acting in the world. Because there are other men who are living very different lives and getting very different results. So, the concept is, when it comes to women, is that women are the most dangerous thing in your life. Okay, I'm not in any way that you think an earthquake's going to kill you, you think lightning's going to kill you, you think the aliens are coming, you know, like take you away. No, none of this stuff. COVID-19, no. A woman is much more likely to ruin your life than anything else. Okay, so don't get me wrong. But that does not automatically mean you should avoid women. That's the complex part of life, is that there is a part of you as a man that needs to feel he has mastered this area of his life. There's a part of you that will never be satisfied without that, who will always want to enjoy that aspect of the human experience. And if you shut yourself off from that, then it's like it's you pay the price. There is a price to be paid. There is a price to be paid for ignoring your deepest wishes and your deepest longings, desires, most inherent genetic needs. There is a price to be paid. You can ignore it, but it's still there. And it comes in loss of energy, loss of vitality, loss of human, sense of humor, loss of optimism. There are things that you pay the price. Now, you might not be able to see the price. See, so it's not like it's going to come and like jump on you and show you in your bank account. But if you look at other people enjoying life, you might realize that you're not living the exciting, adventurous life that you want. And you're wondering, where does that come from? Well, a lot of it comes with interaction with people. It's not about buildings. It's not about travel. It's not about the Eiffel Tower. It's not about going to the Grand Canyon. It's the dance of humanity, the dance of people. So I'm not saying really anything here other than to keep an open mind and realize that there are things that you don't know yet about life. There are ways of taking life. There are ways of living life when it comes to everything, including women, that you have never thought about or never really understood, or maybe you've never even come across them, right? So I would say to keep an open mind to ideas. One of my concepts is that I women are there. I like women, women like me. And they are part of my life. They are around. And there are interactions I can really enjoy at times. But at the same time, I recognize that they are also the most dangerous thing in my life too. Nothing can take me down like a woman, you know. Nothing can take you down like a woman. Like the wind is not gonna blow me up to the earth, up to the atmosphere. The lightning's not gonna hit me right now. But a woman, oh man, that could cause some serious troubles, you know. There ain't nothing like women troubles for men, you know. So I recognize that. But the key is I've spent my whole life finding ways that I can be the most happy, the most satisfied, while avoiding all the pain that everybody else goes through. But a lot of this requires some massive ego butchering too. And realizing, you know, that you need to learn shit. You know, there's more to learn, there's more to grow. You know, a lot of guys like, hey, I know everything, I've tried everything with women, it totally sucks, you know, it never works, they're all like this, you know. Okay, yeah, I mean, if you want to shut off to that for now, that's fine. Total every aspect of, you know, half the world's population, you know, that's fine, you know. There's nothing wrong with that. But I would say at least do it temporary. Don't forever close your mind off, because, you know, I've definitely had women who have helped me too. I'm not just talking about sex, I'm talking about like everything. I've had women that have helped me in business and helped me. I've had women who actually, I had one woman who, I talked about her before, the one with a really high IQ. She was one of my best brainstorming partners. Man, that chick was fucking smart. I tell you, I was humbled in her presence in some ways. And she was a good bone too, which was an awesome combo. But that chick was so fucking intelligent, it was scary. Her IQ was literally off the charts. and she was the best brainstorming partner too. I mean, she's a woman, she didn't really like brainstorming that much, but she loved me, so she was willing to do it. So we'd sit there and brainstorm, and like her unique thinking would always be like just shocking, you know. I was just like, oh my gosh, like, whoa, holy crap. She'd put things together that I was just like, whoa. Like logically, her brain was a freak of nature, you know. And I gained a lot from her, you know, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. And sad now what she's become, actually. It's so sad. Yeah, it's so sad. She's become, it's not good. But anyway, I really enjoyed that time with her. So when I talk about women, I'm not talking about the things that you probably are thinking. I'm talking about moments. I'm talking about being in the moment and enjoying women. I'm not talking about commitments, I'm not talking about contracts. And I'm also not talking about judgmentalism and long-term thinking. I'm just in the moment. That is what life is in the moment. So if somebody says hi to you, you say hi back. If you want to say hi to somebody, you say hi to them. You're in the moment. But you're also recognizing that a lot of the commitments that men are asked to make these days are totally insane. Essentially slavery, you know. But in the moment, it's no slavery, you know. And actually, you know, most women, they really like a guy who's in the moment. Actually, a lot of women will be happily let you fuck their brains out if you share the moment with them. Because so few people are in the moment who are living the life that they're in this second. They're looking at them and seeing them and feeling them. There's so few people like that. There's a lot of women who are very happy just to be around me. I know that for sure. And it's just like there's something about that in the moment. I'm there. I'm not making any promises. I'm not making any commitments, but I'm there. I'm here. I'm in the moment right now. I'm feeling her. I'm feeling the moment, right? And that is a very valuable thing to a lot of people. So that is one thing that I offer. And I don't offer long-term commitments. I'm not like, hey, you know, I'm giving this, I'm giving that. No. It's like, I don't know. You know, why would I do that? I don't understand. No. And if anybody tries to push me into that, it's like that's a pushy, bully type person that I'm not interested in, right? You know, I know what I want. My feelings change, you know, and I know what I want in the moment, like I said, and that moment changes, you know. And it's okay. But instead, what you got in society is that guys are always pushed to make these huge commitments. It's like, you did this, you owe her, you owe this, you don't owe things. You crazy. No way. You don't owe people things. Come on. People do things because they want to do it. They want to be with you, they're with you. They want to spend time with you, they spend time with you. Anybody who is investing in you for a future outcome is a gambler. And gamblers lose. And gamblers don't have your best interest at heart. Right? So you don't really owe anything to somebody who's investing in you, like as if they're making an investment for the future, you know? It's like, hey, that's their decision, you know? Like, you're not doing that. You're in the moment, you're right here, and then that's it. You're happy with that, you know? And if somebody wants to, you know, have sex, it's fine. It's like, that's great, you know, let's do it. But you're not boring. Like, now I can sense the boringness coming in. Like guys saying, oh, I'm going to explain this to everybody. No, you're not explaining to anybody. You don't even have to explain. I'm just explaining this to give you the concept. You're incorporating like the bicycle, and you're in the moment. That's it. The moment is not some big commitment. It's not some big decision. It's not some big, you're in the moment, man. Fuck, you know? You're in the fucking moment. Being in the moment is a good place to be. For one thing, you know, you forget about a lot of things that most people worry about. Because in the moment, things are pretty good. I mean, look at this. Look how beautiful it is today. I mean, it is freaking beautiful today. And I'm sure there's a lot of people living in hell today. They've chosen to live in hell today for whatever reason. I personally have not. I'm listening to birds. I grew up around here. I grew up riding my bike here, actually. I almost died right over there. I almost drove a car right off that cliff when I was in high school. So close, it's an absolute miracle. I could tell you a million stories about these hills that I'm in right now. There are a million stories. If we ever do another summit around this area, I'll be happy to take guys around and tell the stories. I wanted to do this at the last one, but then COVID came and there was not a lot of movement and freedom, and long story. But yeah, no, this is a meaningful area for me, very meaningful. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope that it helps you to give a concept of what is the kind of thinking that I'm trying to explain. Because it isn't easy to explain, to be honest. It's not easy. But I appreciate you being on the journey. I appreciate you listening to this point. So hope you guys have a nice day.